part of what we're trying to do when we're engaging people is we're trying to not view them as a commodity, and we're not trying to sell them. We're trying to form a relationship, and I think track allows you to engage people on a much more personal level. You can put in notes, you can put in details of stuff, and then when they're contacting you back, you can make reference to that. I've always been thinking in those bases because I'm always curious about our bottom line. What I'm most mindful of is looking at overall kind of productivity. And I noticed that, what I'm booking this year is more than what I was booking last year. So I can see the month by month growth. And sometimes, if we have some quiet time, I'll go back and I'll look over the last 18 months and I'll go, wow, I booked $1 million in reservations. And that has a little fun attaboy feel to it all. Oh yeah, absolutely. The reservations go up, and again, when you've got more information and you can more effectively engage people, they're more likely to want to be booking, and they're going to feel more positive about you being there, so they'll write comments and things like that. But in terms of dollars figures, yeah, my reservations are higher this year than they were before the year before that. Yeah, no, the information, the capture of information is there. In fact, sometimes it's a little startling because people have no idea, how did you know how to spell my last name? And you can either look like a star and say, well, when you said it, it sounded like that, and you can use those kind of information. So, but I would say that the capture information is accessible and very useful. Well, the day-to-day operations, there's several levels. For persons like myself who are doing reservations, it lets you, first as you're dealing with the calls, I just got someone call me back for the third time and I knew exactly where he was going and what he was needing, and even though I'd had a crazy day, I think I booked about $11,000 in reservations today. It was one of those kind of days. I could say, oh, hey, Brent, what did you guys decide about that Poplar Bed or 2-room? And I had everything I needed right there. So I think in your making the reservation, it allows you to come across much more engaged, like, he's the only person I've been thinking about since he last called, and I ended up closing him after his third call, which was great. So I think it allows us to come off much more personably and much more like the philosophy our resort is, which is to want to make people feel like they're coming home. So I think it's useful in that. It's also useful in terms of just keeping track of how you're doing, both in terms of revenues, how much have I been booking, how much time am I spending on calls, so I can kind of look at areas that maybe I could improve upon so I'm more effective in being available for new calls. And as the coach, it allow me to kind of walk people through their experiences, let them listen to their calls, see what their actual numbers and results are, and try to help them be more effective in their work. So I see it as useful at a lot of different levels. Employee productivity, and I think overall morale too. Once you get past the uncertainty of learning it all, you start to feel more confident and comfortable because you got all your information right there. I think for one thing, it's meeting all of our needs in a much more cost-effective way. The previous program did a great job, but it was expensive, and of course that affects our overall bottom line. So the return on investment is not going to be as great with something that costs a lot more. And Pulse seems to have hit that sweet spot where they've got great quality, but at a very workable price range, so that you can get more return on investment from that stuff. So I think that I'm very pleased with it, and hope that we stick with it for quite a while. And even if you don't think it's something that you'd want, I would encourage people to try it, because I think that once they see its usefulness and once they start to experience it, they'd get sold. I think it would have that kind of effectiveness for them.